Hey guys, how's it going? I figured I'd give this whole anime discussion thing another go, but on a different show this time. Something that hits home every time I watch it. Something that's quite personal to me, and even after watching it several times across different phases of my life, despite my feelings and love of this show, I'm not completely sure even I would know how to explain the feelings that are stirred within me every time I get a chance to watch this. Each time it's something different. I learn a new lesson or I identify with a new character. I see things from different perspectives, but it's still the same show, isn't it? Simply being able to rewatch it, building on my already established experiences from the show, creates an entirely new level of wonder for me, and it simply makes this series a very special part of my life. I watched Eureka 7 for the first time when I was about 12 years old, back when Animax was still a thing on South African television. Back then, I can say with confidence that there was only one reason I watched it.
Is it because Eureka is hot as
fucking awesome giant robot fights. Yes, my first time watching Eureka 7 was spent admiring the amazing animation that Studio Bones gave the light finding object or LFO fights. From the very first minute of the very first episode, I was hooked. As is the case with some mecha anime, the choreography of the fights was so well put together that it seemed majestic to me. Watching the good guys, the Gecko State, and their LFOs take on the opposing military units, the United Federation and their Craft Light Fighters, or KLF squads, surfing through the air and pulling off maneuvers that 12-year-old me thought were the absolute fucking tits. And let's not forget the most epic, amazing, badass, impossible move, the cutback drop turn. So yes, in hindsight, I was the exact market for a shonen mecha anime like Eureka 7 at the time, as I was a budding little shonen tard, only interested in the action of the show. Now skip forward a few years to where Animax is no longer a channel in South Africa, but the memory of this amazing show still lingers somewhere in my mind. And I'm sure we all go through this phase where we don't really watch as much anime as we would have liked in our formative years. It's something that we'd rather choose to do later on, but the memories still stick, so I get the urge, as one does, to watch the show again. Relive the glory days, as it were. I turn to streaming and I watch it again. This time I'm a little bit older, although I wouldn't say wiser, but I do have a little more life experience. It was around this time that I started to have feelings for girls, and I noticed this parallel between my life and the life of Renton as a young adolescent himself. This is where one of the great things of Eureka 7 begins to surface, and that's its amazing love story. A story of a none the wiser adolescent boy who's in love and will go to any length to win over the girl that he loves. The show takes you along with Renton, and if you've ever been a teenager in unrequited love, you begin to identify with Renton and his struggle to win over Eureka. You're along for all the ups and the downs, and you experience it with him, or at least I did. All of the happiness, the sadness, the frustration, the relief, and the eventual love that we see from these characters. The show does a really good job of portraying his entire love journey, and it just aligned so well with my past that I felt it along with Renton, and for me at the time it was like watching an alternate destiny to my own life. It's nostalgic in a way. It really hits home, and it gives the show appeal beyond just the plot. Now speaking of plot, one of the major plot points in Eureka 7 is that of growing up. Not just Renton and Eureka, but most of the cast actually. Holland, Talho, Dominic, Anemone, Mater, Maurice and Link. Each character has their own turning point somewhere in the series. When it comes to Renton, there's this play-by-play that we get to see, and as somewhat of an adult now, it's more relevant compared to when I first watched it. We're watching Renton grow up amidst some pretty major conflicts, and he has to try and figure it out on his own. One of my favorite lines is, "Don't beg for things, do it yourself, or you won't get anything." I really like this line because it enforces the fact that you can't want things into existence, you can't beg them into existence. You have to do something about it, and While that doesn't mean you have to do it alone, you have to do something, and that's just something that is so special to me and relatable. It's my favorite line from the entire show. I say he has to figure it out on his own because he never really had a role model or someone to guide him through the process of growing up. His father died or disappeared at a young age. His sister followed soon after abandoning her family. The one guy that he idolized turned out to be a temperamental, abusive man-child who occasionally kicks him over some railings, and his temporary family threw away their lives on some pointless, glorious revenge crusade. All of the adults in Renton's life basically fail at being role models for him. So he has to forge his own path. As a refreshing turn, he doesn't forge it egotistically or out of spite, but he gains maturity through empathy. He realizes that the people he is fighting are individuals just like him, with lives, loves, and families, and this really provides a platform for personal growth in Renton. Amongst all of this, Eureka 7 is still able to deal with other themes such as war, discrimination, self-acceptance, and even sex. Heck, even the beta couple has a better love story than some of the other shows out there, but that's an entirely different story for an entirely different video. What I loved about Eureka 7 was that it told the story of Renton growing up in a way that I could relate to. Now combine that with one of the best love stories in anime, a killer soundtrack, and really well animated giant robot fights, and you get a pretty fucking good anime, at least in my book. And if you don't agree, come fight me. In the end, I only have one thing to say. Don't beg for it. Earn it. Do it. And you will be rewarded. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, favorite it even. Leave your comment down below. I'd love to see what you have to say. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers!